What's good, superstars? Back with another Flow blockchain video. You got Superstar Joe, you got Superstar Rob, you got Superstar Dumbo in the building. How's it going, guys? Oh, he came ready. He came ready.
That was so much more fun. I didn't know that was going to be so much fun. You start throwing fists up. I was like, let's do this.
Oh, there you go.
You're punching up right now. You're punching up.
Yeah, he's got the advantage.
Story of my life, mate. Story of my life punching up. I tell you that.
Anyways, guys, if you're new here, do not forget, become a superstar. Smash the subscribe button down below. Hit the bell notification so you know whenever we post about your favorite project. I'm tired. I'm yawning. Guys, also become a superstar VIP, $2.99 a month. Hit the join button underneath the video. Get one of these stars next to your name. Get entered into all our giveaways, all of the fun stuff like that. Guys, we took the snapshot for the partner statue draw. That's all happening tomorrow. We're doing all those draws tomorrow. Today, we got a special guest on, Dumbo from the Flow team. Dumbo, how you doing? How's your day?
I'm good. My actual name's Luke, if you prefer to call me that. I'm used to going by
like
Dumbo or El Dumbo online. So it's also fun because if you introduce yourself as Dumbo, the bar's so low. Like it's only up from there, you know. So like, yeah, that's me. But yeah, I'm doing good. How you guys doing?
Good. And for everybody watching, guys, you can find Luke on Twitter. Go to @LDumboTS. He has the Flow symbol right beside his name, and make sure you give him a follow to stay up to date on Flow. As well, you can give Flow a follow @Flow_blockchain. You can't miss it. Once you go looking, you'll find it. You have to follow Flow. Many of the products we already track are part of Flow. They're built around Flow. They're built on Flow, and you gotta actually start realizing that these guys, they are going to be the Apple of the future, and we're gonna talk a little bit more about that. So we'll get into it. But yeah, make sure you give them all a follow.
So,
wait, I'm sorry. Can I jump in? I
go
got
ahead.
a little bit of issue right here. Are you seriously using Twitter in light mode? Like, what's that all about? My eyes are blind. I don't know how you guys have got away with this for so long. My eyes are hurting right here.
My eyes. I guess my eyes have been burnt, so I could just now just take the brightness. Just take the brightness.
Oh, I thought it was dark mode. I had no idea.
We use the natural lighting because it's good for the video, right? It's good.
We don't have to buy lights, right? It shines.
I don't need to ring light.
There's no light in this room. It's actually pitch black with a screen. It's just coming out.
You know how much more tired you would look if we had it on dark mode. But anyway, yeah. So Luke, I mean, why don't you give us a little bit of a background on yourself, and then maybe lead into like what is Flow blockchain? What are the future plans? Maybe a Flow blockchain. Like what is the goal, the long-term vision of the blockchain?
Yeah, so I'll start myself and I'll keep it somewhat brief. I started off on the Dapper Labs side, and I'll get to all of that in a sec as well. But I started off working at Dapper Labs back in early 2021. I think it was April, May 2021 time. I started off working on the NBA Top Shot product, which is a platform that Dapper Labs built and manages and runs, that's built on Flow. And then so that was 2021, and around mid 2022 I moved over to doing stuff on the Flow side. And now the way it works is that there's Dapper Labs is the company that created NBA Top Shot, and they also built the Flow blockchain, but they built it as a separate company under Dapper Labs, and it's now split out entirely. So you have what's called the Flow Foundation, and you have what's Dapper Labs. And so it's kind of like Dapper Labs had their child of Flow Foundation, and once it was ready and an adult and went off to college on its own, they split. And so it's been that way for a while. And so, you know, I work on Flow Foundation, but because I started off on the Dapper Labs side, I also have a lot of awareness, and I still do bits and bobs sort of jobs on the Dapper Labs side. More, to be honest, it's not that interesting, more like Discord infrastructure stuff, but I won't go into that too much. So that's kind of like my background and how I got it today. I started off doing, you know, Discord moderation and just helping out, and then it was community management. And now on the Flow side, I do sort of marketing, social media, and community management. And so that's kind of the rub of my story in a 20-second sort of version. And I wish it was as easy as I made it sound. I wish I hadn't done like 10-hour days for years. You know, it was that easy. Now, in terms of Dapper and Flow and their relationship, so Dapper Labs have a mission. It's one mission. It's been that way since 2017, 2018, when they started off, when they built CryptoKitties, which is to bring 1 billion people to the blockchain. That's kind of the Dapper Labs' vision. And it's obviously a very lofty, but ambitious and hopefully achievable goal. Flow, they help Dapper Labs, and Dapper Labs help Flow because Flow is extremely scalable. It's a blockchain that can scale 2 billion in a way that no other blockchain can. And I'm sure we'll talk about that more in a bit. But they also want to kind of spread awareness of Web3. But Flow's point of view is like, we want to build a blockchain, a platform that's secure, safe, scalable. Anyone can build on it. And it's, you know, it's easy to use. It's cheap to do transactions. It's very approachable for anyone. And that's kind of the two mindsets of the team. And as you can see, they really overlap. And so even though they're separate teams, they work together very closely. Dapper Labs builds platforms like NBA Top Shot, NFL Day on Flow, and Flow supports teams like Dapper Labs and other teams like FlickPlay and Cryptoids and whoever else might choose to build on Flow. Does that help make sense? I don't know if you want to clarify there.
Yeah, that's great. And I mean, we believe that for any project, right, you can have great ideas, but to actually make them realize these are some crazy ideas, you want a billion people on the blockchain, it's going to come down to like the executive team and the people you got there. I mean, we just want to know like who's executive team. We know we got Roham on the Dapper side, but now that you're kind of separate, like what's your executive team and kind of experience they have to be successful in the future in the space?
This is such a good question. This is a great question because being a little bit arrogant on behalf of Dapper and Flow Foundation, I don't know if there's a better executive team out there, period. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's plenty of other good teams like Coinbase team. They're really solid as well. Shout out to Brian and his team. But you have in Dapper Labs, Roham CEO. He was there when CryptoKitties was built. He led the team. He founded Dapper. Before that, it was Axiom Zen and all that stuff. He also was CEO for that whole time with NBA Top Shot and to where they are today. And so obviously he's leading the charge there. He has other people on the leadership team. To be honest, I don't know how doxed everyone on the team is. So I'm hesitant to rattle off all the details, but people like Mick, for example, is one of the co-founders and was president and has other roles now, and Arthur is another co-founder and stuff like that. They've all been in the space since 2014, 2015, and they've been about. And that's kind of the Dapper Lab side, plenty of pedigree. On the Flow side, a couple of the people that helped co-found Dapper Labs, they moved on to run Flow. One of them being Dieter Shirley, or Dieter Shirley to give his full name. He is the guy who kind of led the work on the ERC 721 protocol, which is what pretty much every NFT on Ethereum uses, or at least did use. So little history lesson. Back when CryptoPunks launched, I'm sure you guys saw the CryptoPunks, they were in ERC 20. When CryptoKitties was getting built, which was around the same time, the team behind CryptoKitties, i.e. Deet and his team, built ERC 721, which set the standards for metadata that NFTs use today. And it's been that way for 5-6 years. And obviously, there's now level 2s and there's other like the ERC, I can't remember, 6221 or whatever it is, kind of adds on top of that. There's other versions of that now, but at the very heart of it all, the foundation of it all is ERC 721. And so Deet and his team, they built that to then build CryptoKitties using it and kind of create the first NFT game. They did create the first NFT game because of it. So Deet now is the the proper title, chairman, CEO, big boss, I don't know, of Flow Foundation. I should know. We don't really stick to titles too much. To me, he's just Deet. He's a very approachable, friendly guy, and he's kind of taken the charge there. And he's flanked, I should say, by a guy called Sharad, who's GM of Flow. He's awesome. Roham, for example, even though he's CEO of Dapper Labs, obviously still converses with Deet on a regular basis in terms of hey, this is what we're doing. What are you guys up to? Do you want to co-market anything? There's a strong relationship there, which is really handy because Deet, wicked smart engineer, Roham, wicked smart product guy. So they're both kind of in their respective halves of the pie, so to speak, but they're not they're conversing at the same time, And so Deet's definitely leading there. Another person on the Flow Foundation team would be this amazing woman called Lane, who I've got to get you guys to chat to her. I'll get her to come on and let her tell you her story. She's 24 and she co-built a blockchain. The level of success you have to have done that 5 years ago when you were 19 blows my mind. Add in being a female builder in a very male-dominated industry, it's incredibly impressive. So that's kind of the Flow Foundation core team there. And there's a bunch of other people. There's this guy, Alex, who I think is doxed, but I don't want to give his last name in case he's not, who's a cryptography wizard. There's a couple of people like Sean, Rob, and Chase, who you'll see on Twitter now and again, who are also wicked smart. And a lot of them have had years of experience in some tech industry or directly in Web3 and are now working the Flow team. I feel bad because I could literally list every single person and be pedigree, except for me. I'm kind of on a separate list of I don't know how I ended up here. So I want to shout out all the employees because honestly, if I sent you their LinkedIn, you'd be this is incredible. This is insane. One guy was at Amazon for 7 years, for example, and he was leading a bunch of crazy stuff there, and now he runs our dev relationships.
Yeah, so it must be a testament then to you because you're surrounded by all this talent. They must see something in you as well, man. So
they need a hype man.
They need a hype man.
I'll tell you what it is. I think they think they fired me. I don't think they realize I'm still on the payroll at this point. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, you talked a little bit about the Dapper and the Flow relationship. I just wanted to ask you, about, I guess, projects that are on Flow? Is it exclusive to Dapper stuff, or do you have things outside of Dapper now that are built on Flow?
This is great. So completely not exclusive to Dapper. So basically what happened was in 2020, Dapper Labs built NBA Top Shot on Flow. And at the time, Flow was like being developed as they were building Top Shot. And so what that meant was that the Flow team were like, well, hang on, we're not sure, like, I'm going to explain the technical elements bad, but like when it comes to like security of the blockchain, you don't want people to come and deploy smart contracts until you're 100% sure that it's safe for developers and for end users. So in 2021, after having, spent a few months making sure it was all good and tidy, they more than a few months, I'm really downplaying how much work they did here, but they launched permissionless smart contract deployment, which means that now anyone, including yourselves, can deploy a smart contract, a project, a DApp, whatever it may be, onto Flow. And so whilst Dapper Labs are one of the biggest builders in the space, they are far from the only one. We have, over 100 projects building on Flow, 1,000 plus active developers. I think it's over 500 projects. I'm really downplaying our own numbers here. I should be bigging it up, not down in it.
One of the biggest ones, I think now, or newer ones, is Cryptoys. We've been pretty heavily covering them as well. So between Cryptoys and now Pinnacle coming out, and also you have, like you mentioned, NBA, Top Shot, and NFL all day. Why do you think that these large IP companies with Disney and all these sports leagues, why do you feel like they choose Flow over other projects? Like, what do you think is the thing that speaks to them?
This is such a good question, because like this is the easy half of the question. Why do they choose us? Not like, that's the easy part to me. So I'd say there's a few reasons that really make Flow stand out to big IP. One of them is that, and I know to some people this won't be as important, but to big brands, it's probably one of the most important things. Flow is by far the most friendly to the climate blockchain. Like, it's the greenest blockchain by far, not just because we put a green logo on it, but because literally the carbon emissions are a fraction of any other blockchain. If you were to mint, I think it's like 14 NFTs on Flow, that's equivalent to one Google search in terms of the impact on the climate. Like, that's insane when you think about it. I think the next one is like Solana, and they're 4 times more emissions per transaction than we are, something like that. Now, don't quote me on that exact number. There's a report from Deloitte from, I think it was 2021 or 2022, I can't remember which year, that has like it fully fleshed out in detail from a third party, but the numbers are just staggering. Even when Ethereum went, did they upgrade late last year, I believe it was, to Ethereum 2.0, still Flow is miles ahead in terms of how little impact it has per transaction on the climate. And to big brands and IP, that is important. When you're talking about, hey, we want to mint potentially 1 million NFTs, potentially 10 million NFTs, you don't have to worry about the press around that being really negative because of the climate impact. And Flow kind of allows that really nicely. So that's the first one. The second one is that Flow was built with that user experience in mind. And that's why Dapper Labs, for example, they built Dapper Wallet that lets you buy NFTs with a credit card. And they built that in 2020. And I know we're seeing that happen in other ecosystems now. They're slowly catching up. But Flow has allowed that at a protocol level since day one. So what you have is really easy to like interact with the blockchain and abstract away the blockchain side of the technology, if that makes sense, which to any of us and maybe most of your listeners, why would you do that? But the reality is, my parents, your friends, your family, they're never going to go to an exchange and buy Ethereum and then go to OpenSea to buy an NFT to then move to a different wallet to like download. Like, it's a mess. With Flow, most of the dApps and most of the experiences are seamless. You sign up like a normal app online, like using Amazon, you put your card details in, boom, you buy your NFT. So that's the second big reason. The third one is also user onboarding. So what I just talked about, it has a little bit of user onboarding, but it goes further than that as well. And that, thanks to this thing we've got called account linking and account abstraction, the two different concepts, and I'll explain them more if we need, but I won't go too technical right now. But it's really easy on Flow to sign up with an app custody wallet, i.e. you don't need a seed phrase, you just use an email, it's super easy to log in. And then when you're ready as an individual to take that and turn it into a self-custody wallet and to easily move your assets into a self-custody wallet. So you like, if you were to do that on Ethereum, if you were to start with like a Coinbase wallet that's app custody and then move to MetaMask, you would have to transfer each asset and every time pay a bunch of fees. You don't have any of that on Flow. It's super easy, it's super quick, it's super free. So like on Flow, the user onboarding in terms of wallet sign up is super easy. So I'd say those 3 things are far and away what stands out to big brands and big IP. And then the fourth one, and it's a bit of a chicken and egg situation here, is that because other brands and IP are already here, it's a lot easier for new brands and IP to come along. because Flow, well, Dapper Labs team and the Flow team really focused on making sure that NBA Top Shot experience was super smooth, super crisp. Of course, the NFL, the UFC, La Liga, and now Disney were like, well, hang on, we want to try that out because no other app has that experience. You know what I mean? Like if you go and play around NBA Top Shot for 20 minutes and no one tells you it's NFTs and no one tells you it's crypto, you wouldn't know. And there's just not many of NFT marketplaces that are doing that in the way that Flow allows, you know?
Yeah, we need to be clear here too for the audience that this is not just a project. This is the entire blockchain that they're putting together, and entire ecosystem. It's not like we usually talk about an individual project or whatnot. They have projects built on top of them that are working together, and they're working to make it smooth. So that's what we're trying to bring out here, so you guys understand a little bit more of the underlying tech and the company behind that.
Yeah, and I mean, speaking of like the benefits you mentioned, like how you can like, you know, when you're ready to go self-custody, you can import without all those fees. Like how is it different from layer 2 solutions? Because Flow is not a layer 2, right? It's its own blockchain. So, you know, you see the layer 2 solutions, they claim that they're also very, you know, environmentally sensitive they have a low carbon footprint, right? Like how can you compare the two? Can you give us just like a better idea of why Flow can compete with the layer 2s?
I think to be clear, there's definitely layer 2s that are also low climate impact. And I'm a big fan of that. I think that's something that we as a community in the blockchain space should worry about, because if we want 1 billion users, we need to make sure we don't kill the planet on the way there, right? So I do think it's important. And I think that's one of the biggest issues with Bitcoin, and that I think they do need to solve it. I won't go on a whole rant tangent there. So when it comes to comparing to level 2s, Flow is level 1. And the main difference, so for anyone not aware, level 2s are basically built on top of another blockchain. That's a very simplified way of putting it. So you have like a Polygon or Solana, which are an Ethereum level 2. Now, there's a few trade-offs that come with that. One of them is that you have to kind of give up a certain level of decentralization because you're built on top of another chain. Like, it's just a reality of it. You're now restricted to decisions that other blockchain makes and that community makes. So it's way more technical than that as well, but that's one thing. The second thing, and I think the easiest way to do this is to not talk the technical, but give an analogy. If you were to build a brand new house compared to remodel a house, if you're building a brand new house, you can kind of do whatever the hell you want. You can add 4 stories, you can go underground, you can put a garage in, add a gazebo out back, whatever you want to do. If you're renovating a house, there's only so much room you have to work with, which means the amount of features that you can add on and the amount you can build in is always inherently limited by what was already there. And that's kind of an analogy I would give when it comes to level 1 and level 2s without being technical. On Flow, the team literally spent months, if not years, figuring out what they wanted to build before they started to build it. Whereas level 2s, they kind of have to come along and just like, can we build this? No. Okay, let's move on to it. Can we do this? Okay, we can. You know what I mean? And so it's that kind of a difference of building from scratch versus trying to renovate something that was already built to be something different. It's like one of them can be truly new and unique, and one of them is always going to face technical limitations. And you can kind of see that in certain blockchains that I won't name that do have limited transaction speed. They do have limited, but they have issues with staying up, for example. And I won't name any names, but they have a lot of downtime and stuff like that because there's just technical issues they run into. And the next feature is a lot of them tend to use sharding, where the network just gets split. I mean, it's on Flow, it's really important to us that we stay decentralized, we stay secure, and we maximize like how good the user experience is within those barriers. When you're looking at level 2s, they tend to specialize on one of them. Some level 2s are like really freaking fast, but are they that secure? Not in my opinion. Some of them are pretty secure, pretty fast. When you actually look at how decentralized they are, it's not that decentralized. And I'm trying to really avoid naming names because I'm not trying to like cause any grief or beef or anything like that. All of them are working on solving their own problems, but all of them are very limited with how much they can do on that front. Does that make sense without going too technical?
That makes so much sense, right? I love your analogy. It gives you maximum flexibility as the builders in order to provide your customers and whoever wants to build on your blockchain, since Dapper as well is so well connected. It gives the maximum flexibility, so you don't have to just renovate the house and keep the bathroom in the same spot. You can build the bathroom wherever you want. I love that analogy. And then extending that one step further, you discussed earlier about the security benefits. Can you give us another comparative example as well as why Flow on the security side is maybe better than other blockchains? And you mentioned as well as layer 2 so they could be more secure. Why are they more secure in comparison to the other blockchains?
why is Flow more secure? So I would say it's probably due primarily to the multi-node architecture that Flow has. So Flow's got this like really interesting approach to how it handles different nodes in the blockchain. And again, I don't want to go too technical here, but basically they have like one node that will handle verification, and that says like, yeah, these transactions are cool. And then they have like a consensus node where it's like, yeah, we all agree these transactions are cool, let them through. And then there'll be like an execution node that'll be like, okay, everyone said it's cool, let's execute them. And by having these multi-node setups, you can have parallel activity and actions happening that are secure and trustable and verifiable, but not limited by speed and not becoming more centralized. And so the multi-node architecture, which I'll send you guys a link for anyone who's like technically inclined to go and read up on, but I'm trying to like not go too deep in the weeds there. It really empowers Flow to do some really cool stuff because the nodes are therefore separate. So like, I'm trying to think of a good example or analogy, but basically you could have someone in like one of the nodes could be like, oh, if you were to have a bad or malicious actor come in, trying to disrupt the network, trying to create problems on Flow, we were built from the ground up to stop that. There's like so many safety sort of protocols in place. We actually talked about one just today. I don't know when this will go out, but just today on Flow, we announced this thing called BFT-UNE, BF2, I guess is what you'd call it, which is basically just an environment where you can sort of stress test how safe Flow is from malicious actors attacking. So if anyone's curious to see what it looks like and like to learn more, I'd definitely recommend that as a resource, that there's like a deep dive into the differences that you see on Flow compared to other blockchains.
Okay. You're on mute, Joe.
Oh, sorry. I guess, yeah. So you talked a little bit about the security. I know that there's a bunch of unique features that are built into Flow that make it like compatible with gamification. We learned a little bit from discussing with the CTO, Emilio at Cryptoys, about the parent and the kind of child NFTs that they're able to build because of being built on Flow. Are there any other types of unique things to the blockchain or that would assist with gamification or making a little bit of use case out of the blockchain for that type of thing or different types of applications?
So when it comes to, so you said you touched on this, did you touch on like child accounts and parents accounts already?
Well, we're talking more like the actual NFT having, like, you know how they have the Star Wars character and then it has a child NFT as like the lightsaber? It's like,
the attachment.
Yeah.
Well, so there's that, but there's also this really cool protocol level feature, which is, I'm going to try and not get too technical once again. Sorry for anyone who gets turned off by technical chat, but you have what's called a parent account and then you have child accounts. And the idea is this parent account would be your main account. And on Flow, you can link it to have access and control to your child accounts. And that would be like a parent-child sort of relationship, which means it's a one-way control. So this is my main account, and it might connect to like 20 different accounts that I set up. And I can say, I'm going to send funds and NFTs or whatever to this account, and I can pull them back. But my child accounts can't interact between them. I control it all from my parent account. And now the reason I'm explaining this is because when it comes to building games on mobile, which conveniently I have a phone right here, you're always going to run into this issue where if you're, say you're playing chess on chess.
No,
you hear me?
Oh yeah, we can hear you.
My headphones just died. Sorry about that, guys. So I've switched.
Can you hear us still or no?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, we can hear you. We can. You're good. You're good. This is perfect. I hear nothing different. This is bang on.
Sounds the same.
Keep it rolling.
Maybe my mic doesn't have work on my headphones. I didn't
Yeah.
So if let's say you're playing chess on your phone, right? And it's a on-chain chess game. So every piece is an NFT. Just for argument's sake, even the board's an NFT, right? It's all truly on-chain. And that's really cool because you can imagine if Rob, I'm playing with you and I take your pawn, maybe I keep that NFT. That, like, you can have really cool dynamics like that. Now, the game itself isn't too important, but if you were to play that and you sign in with your wallet on your app on your phone, either you have two options. Either every time you move a chess piece, you have to switch to your wallet app on your phone and sign the transaction, which is slow and takes ages and isn't going to be a very fun game. Or when you first open a game, you basically say, hey, you can do whatever you want. I sign all transactions within a certain criteria and you can do that. The problem is, I don't really want to do that with my main account. I don't want to sit in my account with all my NFTs and all my money and be like, yeah, just signing up to all these games and try and keep track of who has permissions or not. So then game developers have to decide how they find a way to like not disrupt the user experience, but not also put the user's wallet at a safety risk, right? So with this feature I'm describing of account linking your parent account to your child account, I can just say, hey, I've downloaded this chess game. I'm going to spin up a new account. is controlled by my parent account. So I can like send whatever, I can put my chess pieces into it, play about without having to sign a transaction every time. When I'm done, I just pull them back. Zero effort, zero security risk, super easy. Now, the reason it's really great is because if that game was malicious and it did steal my stuff, well, it hasn't touched my main wallet. It's only touched what I put in that child account. And so this is just one feature that really empowers gaming to be built on Flow in a whole new way, because the developers no longer have to worry about signing transactions and getting access to an account. They can build it more like a traditional game. And they just say, when you first sign up, we'll spin up an account, you link it to your main one, bish, bash, bosh, everyone's happy. The potential it unlocks gets really exciting when you start imagining a world where you have like 20 or 30 different apps that are all NFT-based games. You wouldn't want to do that with one MetaMask account. That would be wild. Do you want to own 20 accounts? That's also like an absolute ball ache, if you'll excuse my French. But if I can control it all from one main account while spinning up child accounts, that's amazing. And that's what is possible on Flow.
That's crazy. I mean, that's a great, by the way, you're an analogy master. Okay. You're great at explaining things. Looks like we've got a chess player here. Because like, I'm very curious to just dive a little bit deeper in the scalability aspect. Obviously, this discussion about the parent wallet and let's say the daughter wallet allows for a better scalability when you have all the dApps and you have everybody coming on and doing these things. Mm-hmm. What other examples, since like you must make, like, I don't know, you know better than us, right? Are there other examples of why your scalability issues are so much better? Because when we spoke to Will from Cryptoids, one of the first things he said on why Flow, we asked him, why Flow blockchain? One of the main things was scalability. What other things do you offer? I mean, that's one great example. Any other cool analogies you got for us?
Yeah, so I can send you like the multi-node architecture kind of allows for this. And I can send you like the really big breakdown of how it works. But basically, so layer ones will either use sharding, or you'll have layer twos which use rollups. I'm sure you've heard of like ZK rollups, for example, like that. And they do definitely allow for some immediate scaling, but they come with a lot of downsides, especially in terms of like, you know, security risk and longer term decentralization and stuff like that. So like that's kind of how scalability is generally handled in blockchains. And I do not think it's a long-term solution at all. In Flow, they have this thing that's called like the pipelining paradigm. I should know the name. I'm sorry. It's very technical and it's not that important for my day to day, but I should still know the name. And so basically it's more scalable, more decentralized, and more secure than sharding or rollups. And it isn't more complex for developers. And basically the way it works, and let me just see if I can find a link that I'll send for you guys, but it basically means that the collection nodes, they can do the batch sort of work that needs to be done. The consensus nodes, they can say, yeah, that works, that's secure, we approve of that, that's all good. And execution nodes say, all right, we're going to do it. And then verification nodes, they come in and check the execution nodes did the work, that the consensus nodes was secure based on what the collection nodes had kind of put together as a batch. So that's how they'll work together. And when you have them as separate nodes, what can happen is, you know, this is a terrible analogy, so I'm no longer the master, but this node over here can have like a million things going on at once. And these nodes over here can also have a million things going on at once, and they can happen at the same time. And that's how you can get this mad scalability, because we can do both consensus, security, and verification checks on the same sort of in the same time period, whereas other chains will have to do it one, then the next, and the next, and the next. And so we don't have to give up any security or decentralization to achieve that higher scalability.
Cool. Yeah. Okay. So I mean, we're talking a little more blockchain related here. There is a token, flow token, I guess you would call it, a flow coin. Is there a purpose for, like, what would be the main purpose for the token or the coin? And is there any incentive for proof of stake? Like, what's the game plan with the token?
Yeah. So there's a bunch of things you can do with the flow coin, but on a kind of like tokenomics protocol level. In fact, I was going to say, have you got it? Yeah, so you've got it up here. So you'll see if you click the flow utility thing, it should have the list of things that I would rattle off.
Zoom in a bit there, Russ.
Does it work? Oh yeah, there you go. So there's like 7 things. I definitely say some more as well, but the main kind of idea is staking rewards, fees, storage deposit, medium exchange, collateral, and governance. That's some of the utility that the flow token has. And so I'll kind of break that down a little bit more. The first thing to keep in mind is that because it's proof of stake, not proof of work, one of the things that this kind of leads to is that every single account on Flow requires a little bit of flow for the storage. So if you want to hold like 1,000 NFTs, you're going to need like 0.001 flow. If you want to hold like 10,000 NFTs, you're going to need like 0.01 flow, right? And so it's a very small amount. But when you're talking about 20 million, 30 million, 50 million wallets, whatever you want to, whatever. I think right now it's about 25, 30 million. Obviously that starts adding up. And that's kind of one of the use cases of Flow, is being able to store more assets, tokens, NFTs, whatever it is, in your wallet. And so that's what I think it's number 4. Yeah, number 4 on this list. And that's something that I think people don't really realize with how Flow works. And then you also have staking. So you can stake your Flow tokens, which basically means you're saying, hey, this Flow is part of the network. It's going to be part of one of these nodes, be it consensus nodes, execution, whatever it is. And I'll send a link that explores all the nodes, and you can see that I think it's the execution node is like the most amount, and you need like 1 million flow to run one of them. And then I think it's the verification node is about 50,000 flow. And so those are like staking requirements right there. Look at that. Let's see if I was right. Ooh, okay. Yeah. Execution node is 1.25 million. I was close. I'll take that. And so one of the use cases of Flow is if you have enough flow, you can run your own node and you can be part of the decentralized network, which is awesome. And then obviously it's also used in terms of, you can buy NFTs with it. If you go to marketplaces like Flowverse and Floaty, you can also use it as a medium of exchange. And you can also use it in DeFi protocols like we have Increment and stuff like that, which is really exciting. And then we also use it for governance. So I don't know if this is an alpha. I might be about to unintentionally drop a little bit of alpha. I think there is going to be a vote to potentially adjust the storage fees, to potentially increase the storage fees. And that vote will be like, hey, if you own Flow tokens, you can vote in this, and your tokens will determine your voting power. And that's, pretty standard in blockchain as an example of governance. And so the community, people that hold Flow tokens, the people that build on Flow, that are taking part in the network, they can also therefore vote on the direction that the team goes in with how they build Flow and certain fees and costs, etc.
So is the token, like I found Flow Diver here, right? It looks like there's 1.4 that billion there, 1.4 billion in the circulating supply. Is there like a plan, like we've seen with some other tokens, to like generate scarcity? So they're being staked. Like, is it an inflationary token? Is it a deflationary token? And does it have like any, I guess, I don't know, like I guess there's utility obviously with the token, maybe within other dApps. Like, what other utility other than what you just mentioned when it relates to the actual consumer level could it be used other than, let's say, staking? And is it deflationary or inflationary? How do the tokenomics work, or does it just stay the same?
So we have like a really in-depth white paper about the tokenomics. Again, you guys can definitely find it. As you can see on this really good Flow tokenomics dashboard from the Flow Diver team, which shouts them. They're an independent, community-driven team, but they're building stuff. You can see they've actually highlighted the inflation rate. If you scroll a little bit down, right now Flow is inflationary. It's a 5% inflation rate, but as you can also see, you have things like the flow balance we use for storage here and the Delicate APY and stuff like that. So right now, Flow is inflationary because it's still a relatively young coin. We're 3 years into its life cycle, and I would say 2.5 years of it being like really out there. So it's still really young in that sense. But the team have planned out how they see the direction of the tokenomics going, and that's all accessible in the white paper and stuff like that. To your point, because there was a couple in there. I think the other one was in terms of consumer use cases. I do think the main thing is being able to use it in dApps and being able to pick up, NFTs and trade and stuff like that. I personally mostly use my Flow tokens for DeFi because I think it's really fun. There's this platform called Increment.fi. They've got this really creative sort of setup where you can stake your Flow as liquid staking. So what that means is you put your Flow in a staking, just like staking, you guys are familiar with that, right? And you'll get some API rewards for that. It's about 9% on average, which pays out every 2 weeks. It's pretty nice, right? Yeah, that's decent. But they do this liquid staking. So when you stake it, you get tokens back that kind of represent your staked Flow. I mean, when you unstake, you have to give those tokens back. What it means is I can stake my Flow and still use my staked Flow tokens in the DeFi protocol. So I can loan it out, I can restake it, I can trade it, I can do cool stuff with it. And that's an example of some of the creative DeFi that's going on in Flow, and that's another use case for the Flow token.
Cool. So a lot of talk in our community, at least, about major exchanges and getting some of these NFT coins and tokens on major exchanges, and a lot of delays and maybe not happening anytime soon because we're in bear markets. Is Flow on any major token exchanges? And maybe can you name off a couple and maybe how you can buy the token if people are interested?
Yeah, Coinbase, Kraken, Binance, they've all got Flow. Let me just check because I think we have, if you go to flow.com, no, I think it may be Flowverse. Flowverse is a community run resource, which is just like stacked with information. I mean, they've got some awesome stuff. So if you go to flowverse.co, I think they have a list of places you can buy Flow. It's a little bit hard for me to say like 100% because it's going to vary depending like what country you're in, what local regulation, even what state you're in. But generally speaking, any major currency exchange, crypto exchange like Coinbase, Kraken, Binance will have Flow available there. Or you can go to something like a Scalability, for example, if you guys are familiar with that, where you can trade your Ethereum for some Flow and stuff like that. I think it does like Flow USDC, and a couple of others.
Like a swap, like a peer-to-peer.
Yeah. But in terms of just an exchange and not a swap, you should be able to use any of the major ones.
Very cool.
You guys are in Canada, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm not sure. Canada's a little bit weird for buying crypto, isn't it?
Yeah, it's different. But we found a way.
We had some big exchanges that ended up the owners disappeared. I know what's it called? Crypto. What was it called again? I can't remember. It was a big story.
Quadriga, yeah. And then we used to have Binance, and they pulled out. So now we have to find our own ways.
Do you guys have Bybit? BYBIT?
Yeah.
You can get Flow on Bybit. I think that would work. I mean, a lot of the Flow team are based in Vancouver, so they've managed to get Flow.
They've got a way.
Yeah, like
there's always a way.
It's just always, but like Bybit, Coinbase, Kraken.
It sounds like you guys are everywhere, which is good news for everybody, which means it's accessible, right? That's important.
Accessible. I mean, if anyone's listening and they're like struggling to find Flow where they are, just reach out and I'll do my best to help you out. It's hard because the American, Canadian audience, they should find it right away, but there's some guy listening in Mongolia, he might be like, yeah, we don't have Coinbase, mate. I don't know what you're about, you know? So like, it's a little bit tough. But in general, you should be able to find it quite easily.
Cool.
Okay. So, I mean, obviously Flow, they have a history of bringing on some great IP. Now Dapper's kind of separated. Do you guys do like a lot of marketing to like appeal to companies and audiences to like get them on board? Does Dapper kind of do that mainly and then brings them over? Or do you guys actually actively go out, try to find market, get new IPs, get new, I don't know, developers that they'll build in your blockchain? Like, how's your marketing approach?
This is a really good question. So I would kind of say it's kind of a twofold approach. And this isn't like officially like the plan. It's just kind of how it's worked out. The Dapper Labs team, they want to bring big IPs to work with them, like Disney, the NBA, the NFL, and then they end up building up Flow. And so Dapper Labs kind of has focused on bringing big IPs in because they recognize that big IPs is how you bring the masses. Like a lot of your audience probably relate and understand that. They're probably excited for Disney Pinnacle with Dapper Labs, right? And so that's where Dapper focus. Because we know Dapper are focused on that, we don't really need to worry too much about major IP. That being said, we do have partnerships directly with some IP. It's not all Dapper, but generally speaking, we don't really need to focus on it. So instead, our marketing focuses more on like developers, developer kind of tools, developer DAOs, groups like that. Shout out to Emerald City, for example. They're a developer community on Flow, just building like incredible platforms all the time. And so that's where we try to focus when it comes to talking just about the blockchain. We know that Dapper, Cryptoys, Mattel, Ticketmaster, they're all built on Flow already. They're already focused on bringing in like the users and the end customer and, building their IP onto Flow. Like Mattel has an insane library of IP, as does Disney, right? So we can therefore just focus on the developers. And that's when I'm talking about the market and that I do, who I'm kind of trying to appeal to with campaigns, it's more specifically the developers. Yeah.
Yeah. And I got a separate question that maybe you can answer because this was something that came up in the space this week. It's about metadata, right? I mean, I didn't know this. I learned this recently. We know the Goblin Town story where you think you buy an NFT and then the metadata can be changed after the fact. Is that possible on Flow? Have you heard that story before?
I haven't heard the specific Goblin Town one, but in terms of if the metadata can be changed or not, that's going to be less about the protocol and the blockchain and more about the individual, like how the individual app is set up. For example, on Flow, the smart contracts are mutable, which means that you've probably heard countless stories of some ETH project or developer or team deploying a smart contract, selling a bunch of NFTs, and then the money gets lost because the smart contract was buggy. That doesn't happen on Flow because you can upgrade the smart contract, you can fix the bugs, which is like so many developers in our ecosystem love that. They're not used to that in blockchain development. They come in like, this is amazing. When it comes to the metadata specific on NFT, it's going to ultimately depend how it was set up. I don't know enough specifics of the Goblin Town example, but I think on the way it would work would be if the projects want the metadata to be changeable, they could, and if they didn't, it wouldn't be. It's kind of how it determines. Like if they had all the metadata minted on chain, then you couldn't change it unless I don't think you could change it unless you made it mutable, right? But then I would have to own the NFT to change it. If instead the metadata was off chain, which sounds like this Goblin Town situation where it was stored on an off chain database, then it could be changed.
Yeah, and the token just pulls from it, that type of thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the way that a lot of NFTs work is that they don't store the image or the video or the whatever. They just point to a link with it. And so a lot of them use IFPS, yeah. And so obviously if the developer or the team, they pulled that asset away, that would then be like a blank NFT in terms of the image it displays. I'll be honest, metadata being changeable is not always a negative. I think it's actually very cool.
Upgrade.
Yeah, to have changeable metadata. There's like, you can have a metadata where the users could change it themselves. And that's like really cool. That's like true ownership then, because if I've like got an NFT and I want to, maybe not all the metadata, but like I want to change the name of the NFT, but I can't. Is that true ownership? I don't know, And so ultimately on Flow, we're always going to see a mix of that because it depends on the individuals.
Cool. No, I didn't know that. Yeah, I mean, I guess you pointed back to when you were talking about what you guys are building and bringing in IP. You kind of talk more about how you guys are always looking to market towards devs, and it kind of reminds me just of like how you guys are that ecosystem. You're almost like the Apple, like we said at the beginning of the video. You're like the Apple of the blockchain, where you guys are building this space where people come in, and if you work in the Flow ecosystem, you're going to be nice and smooth, and everything's going to be like that. And then you have everyone outside, like almost like the Android ecosystem. But I know that you guys are also working on something that ties the two together. Maybe you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. Wow, man. You guys are just knocking out these questions. So we're working on, you guys, you came prepared. I appreciate it. You got like, it's hard. It's tough questions, but I like it. So we're working this one. This is not so tough. Not so, but we're working on a thing called EVM equivalence on Flow. So basically, EVM is the Ethereum virtual machine, and we have like FVM, the Flow virtual machine. And so this is being built like right now. And I can't talk too much about the technical stuff because it's still being sort of fleshed out to show up the concept. But the way it will work is that people will be able to deploy a contract on Ethereum. Like the Goblin Town. Let's take that project, right? They've got their smart contracts for Goblin Town NFTs on Ethereum, and with just like the idea is the ideal experience would be with like just a few buttons, a quick import, boom, they can then have it on Flow as well. And you're like, well, why would they? What's the point in having it in two different blockchains? Well, not only would it allow for better interoperability between the blockchains, but they can then tap into the powers of Cadence. They can tap into the account linking we talked about. So you can imagine, well, what Goblin Town says, again, very hypothetical. I don't know the team, so I'm just very speculative here. But they might say, hey, you know what? We're going to use EVM on Flow. We're going to put a smart contract on Flow, and we're now going to let our collectors tap into child accounts. So we're going to build a game where if they connect with their Goblin Town NFTs and it's in their ETH wallet, but they connect it with EVM on Flow, and the child account is a Flow wallet, and suddenly they're doing some really cool stuff that, like, even as I talk about it, it's kind of crazy to imagine what it unlocks and what it could potentially do for the like individual projects, because they can tap into whole new technology in Flow without having to do that much initial work of like pouring it over,
Would it open up the possibility for trading through across chains? Like, is that something that EVM would do? Like, how you got I forget the name, Evaluate, how they do that trading on Flow. Would it open it up to some ETH trades, or is it something a little bit more complex?
Well, the way that NFTs would trade, like let's take it in tokens in general, trade between the blockchains would be they get wrapped. And so when you create a wrapper, it basically is like, so you literally kind of would, let's take again, Goblin Town NFT. I've unintentionally shielded the hell out of them. Better. So you get your Goblin Town NFT on ETH, and you could do this now if someone built a bridge, and you would wrap it in a Flow wrapper, and then you can trade it on Flow. And when you want to put it back to ETH, you just unwrap it and pull it out. The thing is, bridges and wrapping, although it's a very simple concept, right? It sounds easy. It gets real messy because you have to ensure like it can't be gamified. There's no mess. If you mess up, the whole thing's bugging, right? Now with EVM equivalence on Flow, like, so that's already possible. You can already build stuff to do that. But I do believe EVM equivalence on Flow would make that easier, but it doesn't necessarily lock it because it's already unlocked. I'll give you a really good example. Doodles, their primary collection is on Ethereum, but they dropped Doodles 2.0 on Flow. And so you connect both your Flow and your ETH wallet to the Doodles website, and it will say, hey, you've got this Doodle, so you can unlock this stuff on Flow. And that's like a really easy, smooth way to do it, you know?
Cool.
Yeah, I mean, listen, this is, I think you said that we asked great questions, but the truth is you have great answers and you explain them in ways that are very easy for anybody to understand. So you've done an amazing job. We're getting here. We're at the 45-minute mark here, so we're coming to the end of the interview. Before we close out, just an open-ended question. I mean, we've come with our questions, but is there anything on top of what we've already discussed that's just on your chest that you would like to get off that you think we would want to know? Did we miss anything? Anything that you think is relevant and significant?
I mean, two things. First thing I'd say is I do appreciate saying that, but I've intentionally, like, it's always a tough one when you start talking about technology, knowing, like you said it to me yourselves, that your crowd is mostly like into projects and specific apps rather than like the blockchain. So anything I've said on a technical point of view, if you're interested, please read more. I've definitely butchered the explanations to try and avoid going like, I don't want to lose the audience because I spent 20 minutes chatting about stuff and nobody cares. But I know there'll be a few people that do. So definitely look into it. I'm happy to provide links. You can reach out to me on Twitter and I'm happy to. Or ask Rob or Joe and they'll put you in touch with me, I'm sure. And the same thing I'd say is, like, I can't express the reason I work at Flow. The reason I was like, I really want to work on this team is because I just use the products. I went and I played around. Like the Evaluate Swap, it's like, it's this live chat room. You can trade NFTs. I can see your collection. You see mine. I don't pay a thing. It happens like that. It's super easy. I've just never seen that in another ecosystem. Like it's kind of crazy how slow and expensive and difficult using these NFT projects and blockchains are when you have something like Flow out there. And don't get me wrong, there are some level 2 solutions that are doing that. But as we talked about earlier, the trade-offs are it's less secure, it's less decentralized, there's less true ownership, right? So like Flow doesn't have as many, like every blockchain has downsides and trade-offs, but it doesn't have all those negative trade-offs, but it does have this amazing user experience. And so the best way I tell people, like, how I get them excited about Flow is I just say, go play on NBA Top Shot 15, 20 minutes, spend like $50, and then go and use another app in any other ecosystem. Guarantee you won't have the same experience. Like it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, that's great. I think, Joel, we got to end this off what we normally do. We got to give you a stand. We got to give you a standing O. I mean, we started off this interview without knowing nothing. We started off with bright screens. We have now ending it in dark mode.
My stand ovation.
We've grown. Okay, we've grown. We've learned so much. We're in dark mode here on X, and we have learned so much about Flow blockchain. So, guys, before we head out, make sure you go at Flow_blockchain. Give them a follow on X, and also give Luke a follow at LDumboTS. He has the flow symbol right beside his name. You can't miss him. So thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate you coming on and explaining to us, and I'm sure we'll see you around on Spaces as well. And guys, if you haven't already, don't forget, become a superstar, smash the subscribe button, join the Superstar fam, hit the bell notification buttons, get every single video every single day. We do not miss. We're here every single day. Also to our VIPs, thank you guys all so much. Everyone take care, and we'll see you next one. Bye-bye.
Love you. Bye.